Hello and a very warm welcome to Ian's vlog, not in the magic shed. Now, this afternoon, on this wonderful spring day, I've decided to come to a place where I normally teach and train people with personal training. But I thought, because I've done a write-up and put it onto Facebook and it had got some interest, people wanted to know more and more and more. And the subject matter was the ability to carry a rucksack, how to carry it, how to pack it, and how your body deals with the energy, the weight, which creates energy through your body's systems, all right, in a controlled manner, in order to be able to ensure you don't damage yourself, you don't get as tired as quick, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I was surprised to learn how many people don't realise that you're supposed to put the weight into the top of the rucksack. Now, there's a lot of designs I've seen, a lot of the diagrams have just shown all the weight against your back, but it'll be explained in a bit about the dispersal triangle that I've got, which basically shows how the energy from the top comes down through this triangle here, through your spine, and allows for your shoulders and your upper spine, your cervical spine, to take the energy down through your thoracic and your lumbar, okay, down through your coccyx and such like, down into your hip girdle. Now, people get confused with the core. All right, the core that's not just your core, not your belly, your rectus abdominis and stuff, your internal oblique. It's actually, if you're getting confusion with these words, just look them up online. It's actually from your shoulder girdle down to your hip girdle, all right, like just above your legs. That's your core. So when you're carrying a rucksack, it's covering almost, if it's a big rucksack, almost the entire core of your body, all right. So by dispersing the energy and the weight of the rucksack into the upper core, okay, and to the shoulder girdle down through the spine, and taking the emphasis away from the lumbar spine, you're not going to cause any damage, because there's a pivot point about there, just above your hip, and the pivot point is where your body bends, all right. Now, if you've got all the weight down here into that pivot point, it's going to cause your body to fold like a book. So when you're walking, your natural stance and ability to walk is going to be hindered, because you're going to be walking with your hip pelvis forward in this sort of manner. And you don't want to be doing that. You need to get the weight up here, up onto your scapula, so that it goes down through the cervical spine, just around about your atlas bone, down through your body, and blah blah blah. So that's what, I've got some diagrams. I'll show you the diagrams in a bit. I'm trying to remember everything. I'm trying to do this in one shot. I don't like to interject things or to cut it all up, and do it all in one go if we can. So expect me picking camera up and walking over. Okay, so let's start with basic physiology. The body's systems, muscle systems, skeletal systems, tendons, ligaments and connective tissue all work in triangles. Now, we know triangles are strong shapes. If I look at me standing like that in a good stance, I'm a triangle, and that's because the body's dispersing the energy outward. There's lots of these triangles that go through the body. If I stand like this, there's another triangle, okay, from the outer of the shoulders down to the toes. Right, so you've got another triangle. It's a longer triangle, but it's still a triangle, all right. And if I hold my body out like that again, we go another triangle. Lots and lots of triangles. Now, muscles in your body automatically do this without you even trying. So your body's sharing that energy through the muscle groups into the skeletal structure to enable you to be able to carry the load. And normally that is just your body weight. So when people talk about body weight training, okay, we're talking about training with your body in conjunction with leverage and gravity, all right. So the lever and the gravity. Okay, I'm going to be talking also about agonist, antagonist and synergist muscles. Now, your agonist muscle is the muscle you're actually using, and in many cases you can be using many muscles, but it's still an agonist muscle, and your body's using those particular muscles types, all three of those muscles in different coordinations all over your body. But if you're lifting something from here, your bicep is your agonist, your tricep is your antagonist, okay, it's the alternate muscle, and your synergist muscle would be your deltoid and probably your pectoral minor and such like that, which is stopping the arm from swinging either way, okay. So agonist, antagonist, synergist, that's the main muscle. The alternate muscle for the flexion, okay, is the bicep, all right. So looking at that, thinking about that and using that in conjunction with a rucksack, the weight is going to be going to shoulders. Now, I was surprised how many people weren't aware of the fact that they don't put the weight into the hip. Now, a lot of these rucksacks, I can show you here, have got a big, nice, juicy waistband, all right? And a lot of people are told that they've got to get the weight into the hips for this to take the weight. So what they do is they bounce all the weight down into the bottom, okay? Not forgetting, sorry, they are forgetting that your pivot point for your body is around here at the top of your hips, okay? It's sort of central lumbar. So that's why a lot of people have sciatic issues with the lumbar back, because when they're carrying a lot of weight or not standing up or bending over properly, standing up from a chair or going to the ground, if you're not doing that problem, the lumbar spine comes under a lot of duress. A lot of energy passes through that system, all right? So by lifting the weight from the bottom of the rucksack up onto the shoulders, into this region of that region of the bag, okay, so that's going down to there, from there over, okay, I don't know if I've done a diagram, yeah, I've done a diagram of that. So that region there, if you put the weight, it's going to go down, and that is a magic triangle, all right? That's a triangle that you need to get your weight into, because then it passes the emphasis through what's called your cervical spine and your thoracic spine into that point there, so that the lumbar, okay, and your hip girdle, okay, your sacroiliac joint doesn't take all the emphasis when you're walking, especially. Now, when you walk, your body moves like that, okay? That's when people think that soldiers march, okay, simply because it looks pretty. It's not. It's because when soldiers are marching, it overemphasizes that movement so that the body trains itself in order to be able to use what's called a thoracolumbar fascia or fascia in the back. And it strengthens the lumbar back, okay? There's lots of squaddies don't know this. It strengthens that movement, and it gives muscle memory and builds up the muscle systems and tendons and ligaments in that area of the back in order to be able to allow a soldier to walk long distances carrying larger weight, okay? That's why soldiers march like that, because they're overemphasizing that movement, okay, there. So when I got, see, this thoracolumbar fascia is the thoracic lumbar fascia. It's a fascia of tissue which connects the shoulders and this area of the top of the core down to the lower core, into the glutes, okay, and also into the sides through the internal oblique and the rectus abdominis down here. It ties it all in, so it protects that area. It's a backup system for the lumbar spine. But you've got to remember also, try not to confuse you here, that your body's got a local core and a global core. The local core are the muscles around the spinal cord itself, okay, the spine, all the vertebrae, and the global core is your rectus abdominis and your lower back muscles, okay, your internal oblique going up into your external oblique down here. All right, so that's your global core, and then your spine is your local core. It's getting a bit confusing now, isn't it? So what we need to do is protect that area around here. We need to strengthen it. So there's lots of exercises. If anybody wants to know any, message me, drop it on the comments underneath, and I can try and get into all that with people doing isometric work and back strengthening core exercises. Because the strength, your body, you've got to imagine, is like a tree trunk, all right? So the stronger the core of the tree, stronger the trunk, all right, the more impressive the boughs can be, all right? So if you can get that core nice and tight and nice and solid, when you come to put the weight onto your shoulders, okay, onto your scapula, etc., it's going to be able to handle it better. But there's still going to be a chance of injury due to too much weight in the bag, all right, but also having your shoulder straps too tight. Now you've got to remember, you've got some, but I'm going to tell you what, in a minute I'm going to show you all that, okay, I'm going ahead of myself a little bit. What I want to show you now is some exercises quickly that you can do to prepare yourself to put a rucksack on. Now don't people take that for granted. You've got a burden like that full of stuff, and you've gone from a cold situation all right, to picking a great big burden up and walking with it. Now, how many weightlifters, you know, who know what they're doing, would just go into a gym and just pick big weight up without warming up first? You wouldn't do it. Now, if you don't want to damage your back, or if you've got a weak back, what you want to do is you want to start at your feet, because that's where those energy systems start. That's where all that muscles, tendons and ligaments need to start taking the stress. Because as soon as you put that burden on and start walking, they're going to be under duress. So all you need to do is play like Elvis and circulate your foot. Do that on both feet a few times. Then all you need to do then is lift your knee a few times. It's not hard. Don't matter if people think you look daft. At least you're saving yourself. Now we're going into his hip girdle. Okay, nice and easy, toes facing forward. Okay, next one. You didn't think I'd be doing this, did you? Then we're going to go laterally, alright? To get a bit technical for them that know what we're on about, okay? Sagittal, coronal. And I always think of it like this. Sagittal, you go forward on a horse, and a horse has a saddle, sagittal, alright? And coronal, the corona of the sun or the moon, okay, goes over that way. So, sagittal, coronal. So we're going to go sagittal at the minute. So we're going to bring the leg up, and that's starting to warm the hip girdle up. Okay, then we're going to do the other one. If you do these, you're in good stead. Okay, then we're going to go up and out. Okay, work on these, because initially, see as I do that, that shoulder goes out. Now that's that thoracolumbar fascia starting to work. Alright, so I go up, and that shoulder, I'm keeping that nice and straight. I'm preparing my back, I'm preparing my core. Even though I'm only using my leg, warming up my hips, I'm already working on my upper shoulder girdle, lumbar, thoracic, and cervical spine. Okay, so there we go, we've done that. Then put your hands together and raise your elbows, keep yourself looking forward, and without moving your hip girdle, turn around. Look, so I'm facing that way, but my hip girdle's facing there. Don't strain it. And the other side, just a few goes. Now what that's doing, that's twisting your hip. Okay, it's twisting your spine. Because your spine's full of all these vertebrae, and each one of those vertebrae has got a synovial capsule. And inside the synovial capsule, it's confusing, isn't it? Inside the synovial fluid is synovial fluid. And that's secreted through the synovial membrane. Alright, your body just does that without you wanting to know about it. But when you first start lifting bags or doing anything or walking, the liquid, the synovial fluid, is quite viscous. Alright, it's quite thick, like thick egg white. So what you need to do is get some friction and warmth in there to make that a little less viscous, make it nice and fluid. So what we're doing, we're just turning and getting all those joints working. Because you don't want to start training, put too much emphasis and weight into your back and starting to damage the articular cartilage inside those joints. That's the joints which come together in the middle, alright, of the joint. Not all of them, but most of them. So we've done that. What we're going to do is we're going to stand here, put his arms out, because now we're into his shoulder girdle. Little circles. Okay, do that for a while. Slightly larger circles. And then big circles. Now you're not going to worry about your neck for now, because you're not carrying out on your head, alright? Because as soon as you go past your cervical spine, you come into your atlas bone, and that's what your poly sits on. So we've done them, you do them. You know what, since I've been training clients, I've never had one injury. I don't even take a medical book, there's no need, never had an injury. In all the years I've been training clients. Simply because I go through that process every time, and the body's ready. Now if you want to, you don't have to. You can do a little bit of a jog on spot. What that's doing, it's warming up all the muscles ready for picking your bag up. Alright, I would personally advise it, but I would do, wouldn't I? Right, so now you're going to think about picking your bag up, because it looks easy. And a lot of people will just go down and pick the bag, but what's happened? As soon as you go down to pick that bag up, you've just made this area here very, very susceptible to injury. And how many people have done the back by bending down to pick something up? Alright, it can be done very easily. Now on these Bergens, they've got the strap there. The older ones have only got the strap there, but the older ones are not particularly good, and I'll come to that in a bit. So all you need to do, like a weightlifter would with weights, keeping your chin up, facing forward, feet shoulder width apart, bend down, grab the weight, lift, okay? What you need to do is you come over, bend down, grab those and lift it. Because what you've done is you shared the energy through your spine, alright? So it's there, you walk up to it, you bend down, chin forward, lift it, okay? Now you're going to do clean and press, okay? So you're going to go 1, 2, 3 and jerk. But when you're jerking through your spine. And it's that cervical thoracic spine you're going through being controlled. So the synergists, the balance muscles, start kicking in from your glutes and your lower core, okay? So you're going there, you're going to go and kick that leg forward. So now what's happened is that leg's gone back and you've got a Bergen there. So you've gone from there, bend down facing forward, jump up, okay? So clean that, press and jump it, took it up onto your leg, all right? So that's the situation. So you've been supported by the leg at the back and the weight of the Bergen is going down through your knee. It's away from your back, okay? All you do then is grab that loop, just drop your arm through it, yeah? So you got your arm in there. All you have to do then is push away with that knee and your Bergen's on your back and you haven't bent over. And then all you do then, see how I'm leaning? Now you'll see the energy come from my shoulder, down through my spine, through my hip girdle, and down through that leg. See that straight line? Okay? I'm going to slip the other arm in, pull it round onto my back. Okay? And then what you do then is you just pull it up and then lift. So you've got your Bergen on, and you haven't had to bend over without any support. Okay? Look at the triangles. Right, we're going to do this the other way around now, taking it off. So what I'm going to do is on a step forward, drop the arm out. See that again? So I've got the weight going down through my thoracic and my cervical spine being supported by my hip girdle. I'm going to let that roll round onto the other leg. Okay? Grab it by those. Now you see again, I'm supported. All you're going to do then is bring that round. So you've got it. Chin up, drop the bag to the ground. Now unless you're a surfing squaddy and you've got about 200 rounds of jimpy ammunition and a few mortar rounds stuck in there, you're not going to have too many problems with that, alright? Now you'll see, if I can just pick this up, okay, there's hardly any weight in it, so I'm alright. You see here, I'm doing this, I hope you can hear me alright. There's people walking past, they'll think I'm a right fruitcake. Right, I probably am. So we get that strapped on. Remember to pull this over and all, because that pulls the bag into your back, alright? You see this here is nicely supported, and that's going to sit down on your hip girdle. It don't want to be too loose and it don't want to be too tight, because you'll find that your lungs inside, once you pull that too tight, it pushes your stomach up and it stops your lungs being able to express themselves properly. They can't open properly, alright? So we pull that, you adjust it, so your Bergen is sitting there, okay? Now you've got straps here, you can pull it in a bit, you've got these, you've got that to pull on, and you've got these at the top, which I always pull up fully, okay? Now these, what pulling over, now you've got to make sure that these aren't too tight onto your shoulder, because what happens is, your Bergen starts to sit onto the shoulder straps and ignores these, okay? On the old Bergens, you had hardly any strap here and most of the weight was taken through the shoulder. Now this is when you end up with issues where nerves and bursa get crushed, impingements in the shoulder, and you don't want that. Hence why the military now have started offering the option of more padded waist belt, so when you've got it, the weight sits in to that lumbar spine at the bottom, down through your sacroiliac joint, down into your legs. Alright, the weight, that triangle there is created, so it's held nicely in place. So there you go. Alright, so I'll undo that, release wherever it's gone, that, put my arm out. Now straight away, as soon as that's gone, so it's not jerking or falling off, I'll lean over to that, I clip away, you see that triangle's forming, I'm going to drop it round onto that knee, okay, so I'm going to grab it by those two, and you might look a bit daft doing it, but you're not going to pull your back, alright, and then you're going to drop it down, chin up, and then lower it down to the ground. And I'm just, by doing that, I'm just explaining that these newer bags have got much thicker padding. Now have you noticed on these I've got the airflow? Well, on the airflow there, it's quite far in, it's not too far out. And that's so that when you're walking, you know the bit I was talking about before, about the movement of the back, it's allowing for that movement and that thoracolumbar fascia to do its job and to share the energy out from your lower back to your scapula up here and your external oblique, etc. All right, so it's all about sharing the energy out through your system. Right, now the old bags, like this one, you see straight away as I want to get up, I put the energy down through my spine into my leg and I lift up as if I'm doing like a one-handed press, okay? As I'm doing that, okay? Now this is an old German mountain bag. Back in them days, there weren't such much of an emphasis on health really. Now with the old Bergens, I train and do rehabilitation for a lot of ex-squaddies who are suffering with lower lumbar issues, and that's because the old bags that we had, the old Bergens, we didn't have so much protection for the lumbar spine. A lot of guys now have got sciatic pain, they've got crushed vertebrae, impingement problems, nerve problems and all sorts of stuff, especially paras. I've just finished training 2 paras. Right, so this bag here, it hasn't even got a waistband. It's not designed for it, or at the time it wasn't, because this bag would rely on some kind of webbing system. So the webbing pouches would sit on the back and this would sit down on top of it, okay? But again, even with this bag, I can go from there, okay, lift it up, okay, get over the straps, straight onto that knee. Even though it's a short pack, it's only a 40 litre pack, drop down through it, onto my back, and then I can just chuck the other strap on. Let me show you. Get that right. This is not a bag to be carried over long distance. Okay, I don't think it was ever designed for it. I think these packs are more like the sort of Northern Ireland packs, 40 litre British Northern Ireland pack, alright? Patrol packs. It's sitting down into that lower spine there, but it's going to cause, see the gap? See the gap there, down the back? It's so big you can I put my axe down it, you can stick tools in there. So what's happening, that's causing my body to be pivoted forward. Alright, even though I've only got my sleeping bag up bottom, the weight, nothing you can do about it. It removes that triangle I'm talking about. It don't give you an option of much of a triangle. And you can't pull the bag close enough into your back. So it's pulling in, it's wanted to fold you up past that pivot point. But I only use this for bushcraft. And if I'm using this, I'll probably not walk more than 5 miles. And I've got a really strong back. So it's not an issue for me. And there's not that much gear in it, but somebody put quite a lot of gear in this who's not got a strong back, and watch, you'll find that eventually you'll start having issues. And another thing you've got to remember, an injury in your ankle can eventually end up in your shoulder, and that's because your body will allow itself to mend. Now if you've got an injury in your ankle, your body will try to say, right, okay, I've got to take the emphasis away from that injury, so I'm going to start using different backup muscle groups in order to be able to coordinate and overview and deal with that, okay? So it'll start using other muscles groups down there, so those triangles I'm talking about, and tendons, ligaments and muscle, okay, will start changing, your body will start, and that's why you start to limp. You limp because obviously sometimes it's hurting, but you limp because your body is trying to remove the emphasis from the injury. Right, so what it does, it changes that structure. So you further up in your body, especially your knees, if it's an injury in your ankles, your knees will start to push out slightly in the wrong direction, maybe forward, backwards, sides, laterally, okay? So and then it goes from there, that'll be bound up into your hip girdle, and then from your hip girdle, it'll go through your sacroiliac joint, it'll go down into your lumbar spine, all right? And then it'll start feeding back. And because it's compensated so much over a period of time, if you keep doing the same thing and not dealing with it, eventually that ends up in your shoulder and it can cause impingements. So you start getting like a nerve issue or something like that, and that's nerve feedback. So you basically, your tendons become raw, the bursa's putting pressure on, no matter where it is, and you might get pain in your elbow because you get that feedback loop going on. All right, and then you'll get that impingement in you, and that's getting you. Then that impingement there might cause problems, and you'll have pain in your neck. It can work so, and that's why it's hard to be able to work out what an injury is with someone, because they might have an injury in their upper neck, in the cervical spine, and it might end up being an issue with their elbow. You get me? It is fascinating. I know there's a couple of PTs out there who'll be having a giggle now. And you can have an injury in your back, and the back of your neck will start hurting. It's a bit bonkers, but we have to work out what that is. All right, you don't have to worry about that so much. I'm just overcomplicating things as per usual. So I'm going to put this down again, all right? So all I'm going to do is kick that leg out, depending if you're right or left-handed, doesn't matter. I'm right-handed, okay? So I'm right-handed, and I drop my left leg, okay? And I drop that arm out. He says, me or watch you always get stuck, okay? Then I drop that round onto my hip girdle, down here onto my upper leg, grab that, stand up, taking the weight, drop it down, chin up, back to the ground. And if you keep doing that, you're going to be pretty well safe. All right, let's go and have a look at some pictures. Right guys, we're back. That was good, wasn't it? Yeah, that's that book I've been looking at. Always remember, if you're going up and down off the ground, make sure your chin's up so that you don't damage your back. Okay, so here we are. So that's your clavicle, that's that little sticky bone that goes across underneath your chin. You've got one at either side, all right? That goes into your sternum. So your sternum would be there, that's that bone that goes down where all your ribs come off. So you've got your clavicle, you come across, okay? And then you come into here, all right? Look at these names. Supraspinatus tendon becomes inflamed, and that's because if you've got too much weight dispersed in this area just here, you've got to imagine that's coming down, so that's in your back, okay, your scapula's in your back, this is more to the front, and then your rucksack is coming sort of over that, if that makes sense. So you put too much weight down here. Now you see over here, you've got a bursa, and you've got your ulnar nerve which comes down through there, down through a little jutty hole there, like a little crevice, and it comes down here, then it goes down your arm, past through your elbow. You see that little thing there, that's where your ulnar nerve passes. But inside here is a bursa which protects it, okay, which is there, you see it. Now as that comes down, if you've got too much pressure on there over a period of time, all right, that's going to squash that bursa down, and that's going to put pressure onto that tendon. You see that tendon goes across there, okay, where's the name of that? I'm trying to show you. Here we are. Inflamed tendon, bursa, is the name for it? Here we go. Oh, sorry, that's the joint. It's so difficult to see when you're doing this. Anyway, so your tendon gets crushed, and that bursa on top of the tendon, all that system there is there to protect that ulnar nerve as well. All right, inside there. Okay, so that, for example, there would be a synovial joint there. Your articular cartilage would be on top of there, and that is the joint in the. Let's have a look. What's that say? Oh, your glenoid cavity, yeah, down there. So, blah blah blah. There you go. Glenoid cavity, and you've got your glenoid, and that's a little cavity inside, and you've got it all comes down where your ulnar nerve comes down, and once you start squashing that bursa, puts pressure onto your ulnar nerve, you're going to have long-term problems. It can take a long time and a lot of work to get that bursa back as it was before, and to take the pressure off that tendon. So by doing this, by carrying too much weight on your shoulders and not taking the emphasis away through your hip girdle, you're going to end up with these long-term problems. Now let's just, I've done that. I'll try to take a photo. I've squashed it on my paper. Right then, okay, so you go to your next one. This is the other bit that I was talking about. Now we're going to a really crap drawing. The spine, now that's the shape. People think your spine's straight. It goes like that. So that it there would be your atlas bone, which is a really crap version actually. You've got your poly there, your skull, okay, looks like that. Your atlas bone is underneath your skull, and that sits on top of your cervical spine, all right, which is, it shows there, cervical. So that would be a cervical spine. I'm not going to go into how many vertebrae you've got, but this would be ridiculous. And then you come down, that area there is your thoracic spine. Now you see this triangle here I've done, okay? Now that triangle there is showing the area which should be lightly weighted. See, it's got medium and light weight in the bottom of the pack, and that area there you can have heavier weight, all right, because that weight there is being dispersed down through your thoracic and your cervical spine, which is allowing that energy to be transferred correctly via your local and global core muscles down through your lumbar, okay, your sacral and your coccyx down at the bottom. And if you see there, that is where that band is, that waist strap. So your waist strap would go around there. Obviously, I ain't get this diagram of belly. This person's got serious weight issues. But that band would come round there to protect you onto the hip girdle, removing emphasis from that area there. Now your pivot point is a point in the triangle where it crosses over from medium to heavy weight. All right, so you've got your weight here being transferred down through there. Now when you walk with weight on your back, your body automatically adjusts and you'll find yourself standing slightly forward. Now that is your line of gravity, which runs straight through. You see it? So it's going from the front of your hip all the way through your spine, back up through the back of your neck. So you'll find that when you're walking, your pivot point, there's a percentage there, you'll be walking slightly forward, and that's your body adjusting. All right, so if you've any questions about how to pack your pack, you want your weighted stuff in that area there, and then you want your light stuff within that safe triangle just there. Okay, so you go cervical, thoracic, lumbar, your sacral and your coccyx. All right, there you go. And in between each one of those vertebrae is a synovial joint. Just remember that. And each one of those synovial joints has got synovial fluid, all right, which protects it. So you need to protect it to ensure that your back doesn't go. And it's this area here where your thoracolumbar fascia connects down from your hip girdle into your rectus abdominis and your lower back muscles up here into your upper back, okay, the top of your core. All right, and also the emphasis is taken, there's muscles which go from your skull back down into your neck, into your shoulder area, which will also be affected. So if anybody gets any issues with pain in the back of the neck or the lower back, start looking at how you're packing your pack. Another thing is, don't have too many items hanging off on the back, unless you've got a really strong back, because again, that's going to cause that pivot. As that goes, it'll pivot on that point there. So the further out you go on the top of your bag, the harder it's going to pivot. And if anything, I will put what I call a bum roll. In army, used to call it bum roll. A sleep mat on the bottom, so if you fall on the bottom of your back, you're not going to damage your coccyx or your lower lumbar. Right, okay, so I'll just go back to my insane other camera. So guys, I hope that's been of some use to you. I was surprised to find out how many people have been packing the packs wrong for a long period of time. And it could in fact have a lot to do with any injuries that you've actually got in your back and such like. And these issues, once they start, they can start feeding back all over your body and such like, and give you migraines. That's another thing to look out for. Well, I hope this has been used to you. Thank you very, very much for watching my insanity once again. If there's any questions, please feel free to comment below. I'll put comments back on for now because I can filter them when they come through. I check them before I put them on, so we don't get any negativity in here. I don't do this for negativity. I've got best things to do. And please like, share and subscribe. I think that's about it. Thank you very much from Ian's vlog, not in the magic shed. Bye for now.